What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you another live duel from locals. So on the right hand side I am playing Chimera, which you might not know, and on the left hand side my opponent is on Dragonmaid Dracotail. So I unfortunately do brick, so my opening hand was 2 Chimera Fusions, 1 Berthamet, Forbidden Chalice, and a Mulchomi Foolos. So not ideal. My opponent starts off with Rahu Dracotail. There was no real point in me setting the Foolos because I then put a monster on my field, and if they have Ketu, then they get maximum value. So we're going to resolve the Rahu. I'm going to utilise the Urgler to try and destroy the Forbidden Chalice. I'm going to chain the Forbidden Chalice here. It's kind of a bit of an awkward one because, like, if I had no cards, then when they activate Rahu, I activate Foolos, I guarantee a draw. But I was like, you know what? Utilizing Chalice to stop the 5-mana recursion was probably a little bit important here. I discard the Foolos, trying to put a bit of pressure on my opponent because they've activated Fey mana in the hand, which means they don't need to try and recycle it from the graveyard with Urgler as of yet. But going to Chimera and Dragon, I honestly don't think there's a lot I can draw. Ultimately, when I'm looking at what they're setting up, they've already set Sting, they've already set Flame, they've now set Horn, they're now setting a Ketu, and like ultimately, there's not a lot that Foolos is going to draw me into. So the opening hand is not ideal in any form of the imagination, and ultimately, there's not enough for them to like complete the OTK here. So I just take all of the damage, and I'm like, nothing I could top deck could really break this. We just scoop it, we go into game 2, we do the side decks. I get to go first. I'm hoping that the bricks were done and dusted out of the way, and we get to start off with Ibtel. So Ibtel is reveal it in the hand, put it back into the deck, special summon a Hecahands from the deck. This does instantly kind of bait out a form of interaction, and what I mean by that one is it instantly kind of checks an Ash Blossom, because more times than not, opponents don't want you to get a monster to the field for free, and in this scenario, I'm going to be going for the Gygus. I could have gone for the Brus, but I think Brus is already in my hand, and the Gygus, as much as it would be good to use the Brus to try and reveal in the hand, my opponent only has 2 cards, it's now all about trying to bait out the shoe. So we're going to use Gygus here. Not the most ideal start for my opponent, because again, they would have quite liked the idea of having another Dracotail in the hand, so that then they could have got a bit more resource off the back of it. But being able to get an Omni Negate in the form of Shu deals with the Gygus straight away. So it shows that they don't want me to get the Gygus resolution, which is quite an interesting approach. And now it's kind of ultimately just trying to navigate the rest of my hand. So we're going to start off by North Star and the Mirror Sword Knight. We're going to tribute it off. Like I said, because we used the Ibtel, we've already kind of checked for an Ash. So I don't need to worry about infinite impermanence because my opponent already has a monster on the board. The Gygus has baited out the monster. So whether this is like kind of inexperience against the deck, but the Gygus getting that monster would have led me to the Jazar. Jazar could have then led me to hidden Hecahands, and I could have built on from there. But being able to resolve the Mirror Sword Knight, going into the Chimera can then get me either Berthamet, or I can get myself the Chimera Fusion. The Apprentice Illusion can then get me into an Illusion monster. So I think I'll go for another Ibtel, and the reason for that one is if I use it as fusion material, it has its if sent effect, which would then allow me to bring back the Gygus or a Godos or a Brus if I put them in the graveyard. So we're going to activate this. We're going to be using the Brus, which is an Illusion monster, plus the Gazelle. Gazelle then lets me add an Illusion monster. The Berthamet on the field is going to let me send the Necrum from deck to grave. So I go for the Yudel so that I can set up the other counter trap, and it's kind of like treating Dracotails to a bit of their own medicine. So like when I can set up 2 counter trap cards in comparison to their like normal trap cards, it could be quite effective here. So we're just going to go Sinister Necrum. We get hit with a Nibiru, which is actually kind of okay. I probably would have liked to have Brus to look at my opponent's hand, but we get the token here. It was a good timing on this one because obviously I lose the evil hero, but I now get the ability to go for the hidden Hecahands. Now, hidden Hecahands, I can send one to then set a Hecahand spell or trap. Keeping in mind that I've already got two illusion monsters in the graveyard, so I have Tartarus that I could possibly go to. But my opponent only has Nibiru, plus 1 card in hand, and then whatever they top deck. So their resources are relatively limited as well. It's not as if we're both open. So it's just kind of idea. What I want to try and do is I could obviously activate the hidden Hecahands. I don't believe I can send the token because it has to go to the graveyard. But obviously I could still just activate the hidden Hecahands to add without needing to send anything, which is exactly what I'm going to do here. So I've still got the Ibtail in the hand. We're going to search ourselves out the Godos. It's like, do I want to use the hidden Hecahands effect in the grave to let my opponent draw a card, discard a card? I'm not the biggest fan of letting them reset cards, so I'd much rather them like add during their turn. Godos can be quite disruptive as well, and really kind of comes down to what they have in hand, what they could possibly top deck. And with the Ibtail, I can set up the counter trap, which could be quite useful for me. I've just got to decide, do I want the monster or do I want the monster negate, the spell, the trap negate, or do I want Tartarus? So, gonna let this one play out. It looks like I passed it there, which is quite interesting. Maybe I hard open up the counter trap. I'm pretty sure, did I side one of the counter traps out? I must have done. Maybe I didn't go for Yugioh. I'm pretty sure I went for Yugioh. So I don't know why, but normal summon Parlor, whether that was the card that was drawn for turn or not, is obviously quite interesting. Go into Lady. Trying to remember exactly what I had set. It might have been another Forbidden Chalice, I'm not going to lie. So, Lady summons Chamber from the deck. Chamber then lets him special summon, DragonMaid changeover. And this is where I'm going to then chain the Goddess on a new chain, because obviously they've added a card. So we're going to summon the Goddess to the field, and I'm trying to remember exactly what I have on this one. I think there must be a board clear-esque effect, I think. Oh, I think it's Chimera Fusion. I could be completely wrong on this one. I'm just trying to remember the duel off as it goes. I think it is Chimera Fusion, which explains why I've left the Yugioh in the hand. It is Chimera Fusion. Now, I know Changeover needs to use monsters on the field and the hand, and to use Changeover, they're going to try and work with everything. So we go Chaining 1 Chimera Fusion, Chaining 2 Goddess to try and revive from the graveyard. What you've got to be careful of is when DragonMaids get to the battle phase, they can start returning cards. And if there's any way to get that Fire Mana back to your opponent's hand, you've got to be quite careful here. I think if I remember rightly, either the last card might be... No, so I think he's got Changeover and Ash Blossom in the hand. So we're going to resolve the Chimera Fusion. We're going to use the... So it's Ibtail in the hand. Okay, so it is Ibtail in the hand. I don't know where Yugioh came from then. Ibtail... I kind of want to leave the Goddess on the field because the Goddess is, of course, another illusion monster. So it makes it very difficult for your opponent to get rid of illusion monsters. I'm trying to be quite careful on what monsters of theirs I use and what monsters of theirs I put to the graveyard. But as far as I'm concerned, I need to get rid of their DragonMaid monsters. So we're using the Nibiru token plus the Ibtail in the hand. We go Chainlink 1 Guardian Chimera and then Chainlink 2 the Ibtail. The Ibtail will revive the Brus, and it's very important that we've done that because we've also chain blocked our... revives the Gygus. We've also chain blocked the Guardian Chimera so it can't get ashed, which then clears off 2 DragonMaids. I know he's got Changeover, I know he's got Nibiru, which is a rock, and then he's got Ash Blossom, and we're just talking about how like I chain block the Guardian Chimera is pretty much what wins me that duel there. And we get to go into that all-important game 3. So my opponent's going to go first here. I don't think they open up too well. So, I mean, in regards to the Dracotail sides. So we go into Chamber. Sorry, not Chamber, Parlor. Parlor is then going to banish the lock part from the... So send it from deck to grave and then banish it to go into Lady. Lady's effect is going to get hit with the Ash Blossom. I just feel that it's kind of worth the risk. Like, yeah, okay, if they've got Rahu, then sure, they use Rahu, they get to go off. But there'll be a chain of events when Lady hits the field. So they've got the Fire Mana. Again, that wouldn't have been affected by an Ash Blossom or anything. And... It kind of just goes into Shu. It gives him an Omni Negate, which is kind of fine. But if like Lady resolved, it would have gone Chamber. Chamber would have then got the Fusion spell card. And now all I really need to deal with is the Omni Negate of Shu. And the best thing about Shu is it doesn't tribute itself as cost. So as we saw in game number 1, like a Forbidden Chalice can put in a lot of work here. And I believe this is the hand that I have a Forbidden Chalice. It's just all about timing. So... yeah, with Shu and 1 card in the hand, I think. So Shu can turn itself into... So it's using Shu's effect in the standby phase to bring back Lady. And I was like, what's the worst it could do? Like, if I chain Chalice now, Shu just chains itself to negate. It doesn't have Shu, it baits out the negate, but it still has monsters on the field. Whereas I'd much rather they try to use Shu's effect to negate something, and then I chain Chalice to kind of deal with it. I wasn't expecting the Philoregius. So the Philoregius is actually kind of damaging against me because like, I don't want my stuff to get banished. Yeah, it does return a dragon to the hand, but it then lets them recycle the Parlor, and then Parlor is an okay starter for the deck. You can still send a DragonMaid card, but we're going to normal summon the Gazelle, attempt to use Gazelle's effect here. They let that one go through, which kind of checks a Veiler or a Ash, but it looks like there's a Droll on resolution. Just trying to figure out on the resolution if there's anything we want to do. It's kind of, it's all of these parts of kind of understanding the game states that you're in. And what I mean by that is, I've got the Chimera Fusion, right? And the chances are, if my Guardian, anyway, the Gazelle, if it was Gazelle was interacted with Wushu, I chain it with Forbidden Chalice. They, of course, might then need to chain the Philoresius to banish the Gazelle. But then the Gazelle still resolves. I'm now activating the Chimera Fusion. It's now ultimately kind of coming down to if my opponent wants to try and interact with it or negate it. And again, I'm kind of set up because then it means that if they try to negate with Shu, I chain the Chalice negates the Shu, and then they're like, right, well, I just want to get rid of the Gazelle, which ultimately under Droll isn't doing anything for me as fusion material anyway. It doesn't lead me to anything. So I use, I believe it's Baphomet and an Illusion monster in my hand. We're going Chaining 1, Baphomet on the field, Chaining 2, Baphomet in the graveyard. The Baphomet in the graveyard is going to target the Illusion, which is either Barus or Gygus. The Baphomet on the field is going to try and send from deck to grave. And again, this is a really good position to be in because what it's trying to do is it's trying to set up Fiendsmith plays. And the Fiendsmith plays obviously instantly put pressure on my opponent. So I'm just explaining to my opponent that the Baphomet counts as Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast on field or grave. It looks like they're chaining the Philoresius just to try and banish the Baphomet so that the Baphomet doesn't get its ability to come back. I've then... Oh, it was Kotal. Kotal was the illusion monster I used. So we try to use Kotal to protect. Wow, okay. So Kotal to protect for targeted on the Baphomet. And then they're chaining the Shu to try and negate the... Kotal protect. We're then chaining the Forbidden Chalice, targeting the Shu. They're chaining Tidian to summon down, which only means that the Kotal will negate, but it won't destroy the Philoresius. But in that sequence of play, what's happened is I've taken away the Omni Negate, I've taken away their last card in the hand, I don't need to worry about that, and I've taken away the Philoresius, and now my Fiendsmith plays are kind of like uninterrupted. So we recycle back the Chimera Fusion. Of course, I could go into Guardian Chimera, but remember that now that the fusion monsters can't be destroyed by card effect, I would only be using the Guardian Chimera if I use 2 monsters on the field and 1 in the hand. I can't draw because I'm under draw, so it doesn't really get me anywhere. So we're just going to use Chimera Fusion to get me into the other Chimera Beast. Now, I think the reason for this one is to get both of these into the graveyard. Resolving the Baphomet, sending from deck to the grave. We then go into, banish the Necro... the evil hero Necro Fiend from the graveyard, go into the Adusted Gold. Adusted Gold goes into Requiem. Requiem then goes into Engraver, and then I've got Engraver on the field. So at this moment in time, it's kind of like equip Engraver with Requiem if I want to, and then try and take care of the monster that is now protecting the fusion monsters by being destroyed by card effect, if I can destroy them by card effect. Remembering that Shu is now like 3,900, which is pretty crazy. So we're going to link 2 off, we're going to sequence. I think I've got 3 Light Fiends in the graveyard. This is probably a bit of a misstep from my behalf because I probably should have brought the Requiem back to try and do the trade-off at that point. Because now it's like, well, I don't want to lose all of my... There's no point in me losing all of my Fiend monsters. Like, I should have done the Requiem first. The Requiem gets rid of the big dragon, the one that's protecting from destruction. And then I complete the link off that I'm doing now, sequence, and Requiem's already used its effect, so then I can shuffle back 2 Light Fiends, being the Requiem and the Adusted Gold, work my way into Lacrima. Lacrima can then bring back Engraver, and then I have that option to link into an Agmunde. And with the Agmunde on the field, it can bring back the Lacrima, and then I can then bring back... I then have the Engraver that can come back as well. So, like, it would have given me more field presence. So, I kind of burnt a resource here that I didn't need to burn. Ultimately, just looking at my targets that I can summon off of the back of sequence. Obviously, I could go into a Desiree. The Desiree wouldn't be strong enough. Like, I need to get Agmunde to make it strong enough to deal with Shu. and it's ultimately just trying to figure out what is in that graveyard that could be useful for me. During my opponent's turn at this exact moment in time, I do have the Chimera beast monster to banish it to bring back I think it's like a fiend or a beast from the graveyard. But then I also have the Berthamet, which then lets me bring back from the banish zone. So there's a couple of different options to try and consider in this particular scenario. And that's something that I'm kind of looking at and trying to gather which is the best possible option here. And it's trying to go through, you know, I don't want to leave Shu on the field. That's 100% guaranteed. Because if I leave Shu on the field, it's going to reset itself and become a bit more of a nuisance. So you can see here that I have to use the Requiem early. And the Requiem early, like, because I'm having to use the Requiem now, because I have to use the Requiem now, I've lost advantage. Like, I should have done it before, because I've had to put back the Adusted Gold into the grave. So now, I can't use Sequence to make Lacrima. So I've completely derailed my, like, initial plays. So now it's like, well, do I link off Sequence without using its effect to get into something? Or I have to link off the Engraver plus the Berthamet to go into an SP Little Knight, just so that I can then get advantage off of the back of the Sequence to get the Lacrima. The Lacrima then brings back Engraver. So it's a really bad self-inflicted position to be in, which is semi-annoying, but this is all in the moment. Like, on reflection, I know what I should have done at the exact same time. And it's all about, like, it doesn't matter about me trying to OTK my opponent because they have no cards left to play. They are literally playing with the top deck. So it's how can I pick these cards off bit by bit. Ultimately, what I should have done is I should have done SP Little Knight to banish the Shu and then destroy the Philoregius. But then I don't want Philoregius in the graveyard, because if Philoregius is in the graveyard, it has the ability to revive itself, I believe. So yeah, it's trying to navigate all of these additional effects on these cards that you may or may not have kind of considered or thought about. It does take a lot of time, and fair play to my opponent, he did let me kind of think. It's only locals, it's trying to get your brain into the scenarios. So we're going to go Agmunde. Agmunde then equips itself to Lacrima. I then equip the Sequence so that it gets even stronger, because the idea is, again, because Shu is so high in attack stats, I have to go this way to get rid of it. And in a downside as well is I'm not strong enough to get rid of the Parlor. So again, in experience, what I should have done is probably during the battle phase, attacked the Parlor with Agmunde, then used Agmunde's effect to go into Lacrima. Because Lacrima reduces the attack of everything by 600, and then the Agmunde would give attack equal to the leak ratings, which is free, and then they draw Nibiru for turn. So very, very hard thought out kind of sequence there, and this is kind of like really important to keep in mind, but that's pretty much it for the entire duel. Hopefully this gives you a bit of an insight into like my playing style, or like the reason that I went the ways that I did. Anyway, for now, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.